Well, it's another day in quarantine land in the United States, and it's time for our weekly update from our man on the street in Manhattan, downtown New York City, Chance Wilson. Chance, how are you doing, my friend?
Good. Thanks for having me back on. It's the situation is tough here in New York and getting tougher every day, unfortunately.
Yeah, we're praying for everybody up there, and interested to hear from you on all the things you've experienced and seen in the past week. We've seen the U.S. Naval Hospital ship Comfort has pulled into New York Harbor much earlier than predicted by the punditry out there. That's because the United States Department of Defense, when it gets a mission, it goes out and executes it. But we're seeing some other activity on the Javits Center Hospital that's now got 2,500 beds dedicated to COVID-19 patients and those kind of things. What are you seeing on the ground?
Well, the streets are empty, which is a good thing. Large police presence, which is also a good thing. The Joint Task Force Empire Shield has been deployed. That's a combination of National Guard, Air National Guard, Army National Guard forces that are deployed in New York City in a sort of counterterrorism and a defense capacity. So, sort of like police, you'll see these JTF soldiers kind of patrolling and securing, key transit hubs, Penn Station, the Oculus, which is the station down by the kind of shopping area and station by the World Trade Center and other kind of key vital spots in New York City. So definitely a very active military presence here in New York. These JTF soldiers are, have been, are kind of regularly deployed here, but, in much smaller numbers. So to people who, like I noticed, say, last August, at the World Trade Center, these soldiers, a few of them in the Oculus. So noticing that, it's not so alarming, but, if I didn't notice that, I guess I would be kind of alarmed to see the large number of armed soldiers on the streets. But it's actually a pretty common thing and a comforting thing too. That in a very kind of scary time, right? We have the police and the military out and in force, keeping us safe. So I'm comforted by that.
Well, it's good to hear some of the things we're seeing and reporting about what's going on the ground is that the NYPD, the New York Police Department's got several thousand officers out and several hundred that are actually positive for COVID-19 and are sick. And of course, I think there's been 3 deaths, unfortunately.
Wow.
We are very sorry for those folks' loss and for New York City's loss, because those that serve are like family members to the communities they serve, and we understand that. How about the hospitals? Have you been down by your local hospital yet there at Presbyterian?
I walk by. I can't go inside, but I did walk by, and even just sitting here, ambulances coming by all the time, and when I walk by, I see a lot of doctors and nurses walking around in scrubs. So there's a lot of activity for sure. The hospitals are, I won't say they're at capacity. At least I don't think they are, but they're certainly, busy and, full of people, full of patients. So, for our healthcare workers, the president used the analogy of this is a war. Well, our healthcare workers are on the front lines, fighting this war. So, definitely a lot of activity, definitely from the ambulances and the, the nurses, EMS, doctors, everybody's working hard. So God bless them for sure.
Well, thank you for highlighting that factual information from an eyewitness, because there is a social media campaign of deniers out there, people videotaping outside of hospitals all across the country and not seeing enough activity in their opinions and trying to say that this is all a hoax. And the only way we can fight that kind of idiocy is to put facts out there. And that's why it's so important that we get an opportunity to talk to you every week, Chance. Uh, of course, we also saw a video of several hospitals that are operating near or at capacity, having to use refrigerator trailers for temporary morgues and those kinds of things outside of their facilities. And I believe you confirmed that for us last week.
Yeah, and I think it's I think it's just I think it's dangerous. I've seen these videos online that you reference. I think it's dangerous for them to go and spread this misinformation. I saw a video of a guy in New York. I believe this was at Presbyterian. He was walking around harassing the paramedics and the doctors, asking where the coronavirus patients. HIPAA laws alone would prevent them from even answering that question. You can't identify someone's medical diagnosis. So they weren't answering because they couldn't answer, and he took that as a way of saying it's a conspiracy and there are no patients, which isn't true. So that video got shared around a lot, and I think it's just disappointing. I know people love their conspiracy theories, but we're at a time right now when when folks are actually dying, and we're projected here in New York to have 16,000 dead by May, was the projection from the governor. So this is real. These are people's mothers and fathers, husbands, wives, brothers, sisters, aunts, uncles dying. People are dying. So this misinformation, for these people to go make these videos and say people aren't dying, to say it's all a hoax, I think it's cruel. It's very cruel.
It's very cruel. One of my closest friends that lives in New Orleans lost a family member just this week, and they told me that when they see people they know, especially spreading this kind of stuff, it's very hurtful. Very hurtful, and really it hurts the cause of the healthcare workers that are on the front lines that desperately need to get the equipment they need to meet projections. And I don't know if you know this, but I supervised two different hospitals during my career, and one was during the flu pandemic in 2009. But my experience is that unless there's been a large traumatic event, you're not normally going to see, tens or hundreds of ambulances rolling up at once, and the TV show type emergency room activity that you see on the shows. You're going to see in a pandemic where it's disease driven. The timing is driven by the disease. So what's going on inside the hospital is not going to be known by standing outside the hospital or watching ambulance traffic or any of those types of things, especially now.
Well, I agree. I think pop culture is contributing to some of these people being in denial. They watched a lot of movies and TV, and they see this stuff happening in real life, and I guess something doesn't click in their brains, right? They think it's all just a hoax, but it's not. And
That's right.
I hate to say this, but I think for some of these people, they would actually have to see someone die from this to actually understand that this is real. And it shouldn't take that. It should. This isn't some conspiracy. I'm a conservative, right? So naturally, I'm going to be a little kind of questionable of the government, but this is a full-scale pandemic. Thousands of Americans are at risk. I see no reason why the government, would mislead us on that. Again, the fact that we can, in our own lives, see the impact of this: people getting sick, people dying. I mean, if it was a hoax, it's the greatest hoax ever, carried out in human history. That's for sure.
Well, it's definitely not a hoax. I do think, and I hope that the projections being used by these models are vastly incorrect to the side of people not dying in the tens of thousands across this country. So yeah, I always question the government because I've been in the government and I know how things work and how they don't tend to work, especially in a crisis situation. So give us one more update on how you're doing, Chance. What are you doing to stave off the boredom and those kinds of things? And is your mental health okay? If you don't mind sharing.
Well, it's been a lot. It's a lot to, just like I think I mentioned on one of our last conversations. Just the streets empty and the ambulances passing by at night, and it's a lot. So I'm looking forward to, you ask anybody here in New York, we kind of gripe about the the busy streets and the traffic and the subways being full of people and the stores, the lines being long. But I bet everybody in New York City wishes that was the case right now, right? We wish the subway was full of people. We wish the Starbucks line wrapped out the door. We wish there was cars all through the streets. We wish things were back to normal. So it's kind of that lesson to appreciate what you have, right? Because in any moment it can be taken away. So I think for all of us here, we're just kind of riding this out and ready to kind of go back to things to go back to, quote unquote. Well, I was going to say go back to normal, but Governor Cuomo made an interesting point that he said things may never go back to normal. That was interesting to me because I think obviously we want to come out of this situation better, right? We want to come out of it, more prepared to combat future pandemics. We want to come back out of it, a closer country, right? More united, less partisan, more ready to work together. So I'm kind of looking forward to the kind of a new normal, so to speak, right? Because I think we're seeing Americans come together as we always do in times of tragedy. Republicans and Democrats, liberals, conservatives, men, women, young, old, everyone's working together. So I think if we can kind of come out of this with that same attitude, I think America's better off. So instead of going back to normal, I say, let's start a new normal.
Well, that's fantastic. It's good to hear you staying positive and doing what you can to help out up there. Plus, doing this reporting for us from the ground in Manhattan and New York City, Mr. Chance Wilson. And of course, we pray for those folks in New York City that are fighting this battle. And it is a battle. They're in a pitched battle right now, and every resource that's known to be available is trying to be gotten to them to ensure they have enough to win. And we definitely do appreciate all the work that every level of government and every citizen is doing to save lives and beat this pandemic, invisible enemy. Until next time with Chance Wilson from New York City, this is the Rob Maness Show.